Matt Andersen is here. I'm Terrydavidmulligan, um, and we're just going to talk. That's what we're going to do. Um, it's April 1st, April Fool's Day.
Oh, so it is, right?
Yes. So this is not a fool. This is the real deal. Okay. I'm not fooling around. But I need to know where I found you. Where are you?
I'm in Seattle.
As you're just getting ready, you're a couple of days away from starting a big tour.
Yeah, yeah. Just get this first one of the year, so just kind of getting out and getting my taste of hotels again.
How long has it been since you've been on the road like this, like through the states? Was it last year?
Would have been, yeah. We came down in the spring last year and did a pretty big run. Yeah, so this is first time down since then.
It's I'm looking at the dates and I'm thinking, and we'll talk about the album, of course, the Hammer and the Rose. Um, it's because it's different, because it's not you doing a blues powerhouse,
Hmm.
because it's kicked back. It's the lower register. It's your sound of a different voice for you. Well, the one that you're familiar with. Um, did you pick different stages, different rooms?
No, no, no. It's still going to be me. I mean, it's uh, anytime I go out with a new album, it's a different kind of thing. You're still kind of playing your greatest hits when you go out there. So the shows doesn't really change that much. It's still going to be, if you want to hear me scream and shout, you'll still hear that. If you're sick of that, you're going to hear something new too.
Now, I was listening to the slower tunes, and I was thinking, well, on a Saturday night in a in a bar somewhere, in a room, people ready to blow it
Mm-hmm.
out, you're going to have to do some adjusting and place those well, aren't you?
Yeah, I mean, I've also been at it long enough that I can tell if something's going to work. Usually, for the most part, so I don't stick to a set list. It's one of the benefits of going out solo. I can change it up if I have to. If I have to work hard all night, I work hard all night.
Are you going out with a band? You're going out solo.
This one's solo. Yeah.
Okay, but you're used to that. There's no booty shaking there. It's you are a businessman. You're on stage, and this is what you do.
Yeah, I mean, it's you can feel the room out. Usually, they'll let you know what they're digging. If they start to get chatty through the slow stuff, it's not that kind of night. So it's pretty easy to switch gears and give them what they want.
How are you getting better at your between song patter?
It depends on the night. It's again, if people feel like listening to that kind of stuff and hearing some jokes and having some stories, I lean on that. But sometimes people are just there for the chorus. They don't want to hear any of that stuff.
Matt, do you tell them about what the song's about?
I usually do. Yeah, I try to give them an idea of where the song came from, and it depends on the song. Sometimes too, some songs don't need a story behind them or need an explanation. And it also just depends on the mood of the night. I don't know that people want to hear a story every time you stop singing.
Sure.
So sometimes I'll just roll into a few tunes and pick my moments, I guess.
Um, so we'll get to this album. I promise. I promise. But because you are where you are, you're in the States and you're heading down there. You're going to be spending a lot of time on stages, and I think they know you're from Canada,
Yeah.
and I think we're all aware of what's going on. This dialogue, this
Mm-hmm.
really nasty dialogue that's going on. And actually, it's a one-way feed right now. How are your feelings about that? Have you settled that as to how you want to deal with it?
Uh, my biggest thought at first was I didn't want to let it affect what I've built up. I've been coming down here for a long time and got it so people know my stuff, and I've get into bigger rooms and have built it up, and I didn't want to uh, let anything discourage me from continuing that. So that was the first big thing I kind of got in my head, and other than that, I just coming down and hoping for the best. You hear stories of friction, but stories are just stories sometimes too. So I don't get too caught up in that. I've just been focusing on coming down, doing my shows, and if I got to roll with a punch, I'll roll with a punch, I guess.
True, true enough. Well, it'd be interesting to talk to you after this tour.
There could be more songs after the tour for sure.
I just don't quite know how it all works out, but the timing of the travel and the album is remarkable.
It's remarkable is a really
it's,
generous way to put it.
it's a kind word, isn't it? Yeah, yes, yeah. Because once you set the tour in motion, you can't cancel. You got to commit and go.
Absolutely. I mean, these dates were booked months ago, and tickets went on sale months ago. So I just wouldn't feel right pulling out because of what people who don't really concern with me are making decisions, I don't want to worry about it too much. So I'm happy to go in and take a swing.
Way Ahead of You, which is one of my favorite tracks, dude. This song works for me on a number of levels. But basically, here's one of the songs that you really do care to explain how you got to that title.
It's constantly and I think everyday life, and definitely as going as a musician, people are always keen to let them know what you think of you and what you should be doing. And when I was younger, I paid attention to that. You worry about making people happy, but I've long ago decided that just wasn't something I needed to worry about. When people are, who don't really care about you, you don't need to care about what they think of you. So that's what that whole song is. It's just laying that out, and the way ahead of you is just that I'm putting you behind me. I'm not going to worry about you anymore.
The thing about it is it takes so much energy that you could be using for other things, all the good things, right?
Absolutely. It sucks the life out of you when you get caught up in that. And it's really easy to. It's everywhere. Anybody who's anybody, public figure or not, you're going to get that kind of stuff thrown at you, and it's fun to walk away from it and carry on.
Yeah, you might want to explain. Well, I don't know if you want to explain what that song's about. I guess you will as you go. You'll find your room.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's also something that I guess in my head I kind of went as a musician, but just in general, people are always going to pull you back. I think that's something everybody can relate to. I think
that's a song that you wrote, right?
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
Okay, and you wrote the song for your dad that closes.
Yes. Yeah.
I'm going to play that on Father. Well, I'm going to play it, but I'm going to specifically play it for Father's Day. Always be your son. Mm-hmm. Are your father's son?
Absolutely. We had a spot, and when I was a teenager, that we hit heads pretty hard. And I've learned now it's since because we're pretty much the same person. So it's if I look back, I would handle things differently. But I've always turned out fine. I got a great relationship with Dad, and it's I'm always talking about my mom on the show, and it seems like mothers get talked about a lot, but I want to write one for my dad.
What was his career? What was his job?
Dad worked in the woods his whole life. My whole life, anyway.
In what?
In the woods.
In the woods.
Yeah.
Did he want you to work in the woods?
Nope. No, he never pushed us in any direction at all. He was a massive supporter of me doing my own thing. He always said when I was younger, he learned early on that he didn't like working for people. So he always did things that he was in control of what he did. And I took that on as, wanting to be my own boss, I guess. And he was always supportive when I had to get, my first bar gigs. I was loading up the speakers into the car, banging the sides out of the car, and when I needed my first vehicle, he co-signed without any question. He's always been a champion. He's always at the gigs.
I phoned my father and said, I was a Mountie in Alberta at the time. And I phoned him and said, Dad, I'm going to leave the RCMP. To do what? I'm going to be a disc jockey, Dad. And he hung up and he didn't talk to me for 2 years.
Wow.
But so when you finally said to your dad, I'm going to be a singer,
he asked me if I was sure it's what I wanted to do, because I was leaving a job. I was working at McCain's factory on the East Coast. I'm sure you've all had McCain's French fries at some point. And for him, that was a job better than he'd ever had. I had benefits, and it was a full-time thing, and a chance for advancement. He never had any of that. So he just asked me if I was sure that's what I wanted to do, but it was never a discouraging question. It was just more of a reassurance. But it was probably, I would say, a good 10 years into me playing music that he stopped asking me if I got paid every
night. I'm so happy he's seen this whole career. Fantastic. And your mom as well. Hey, by the way, how did Big Bottle of Joy hang? How did it go for you? Did it roll out the way you wanted?
I absolutely love that. It's a challenge to take a 9-piece band, which is the reason why we don't lots of times, but it's the most fun I've had on stage. It's just a great band of people on and off the stage. All those people have been to my house, sat around my supper table, and to take that onto the stage is just a treat.
So conversely, as a solo artist, does that free you up to do other things? How's the load on that?
It does. It's pretty free on stage. I get to do whatever I want, and it kind of gives me a chance, I feel, to make more of a connection with the audience sometimes when you do the solo thing, because you really need them to be there, because you don't have anybody else in the band to back you up, to kind of give you a vibe. You've got to get it from the crowd, and I like that connection. When you make it, it's one of the best things.
What a life. And there's no dental program.
There was not.
But you could have been huge, McLean. You could have been you could have been big in fries, man.
I could have been maybe, but I'm happy
You
the way
could have been
things
the
went.
regional manager. Come
Yeah,
on.
I would have had to shave my beard though. I mean, there's no rules, no rules like that.
Thank you for doing Magnolia, JJ Kale. I have a shot somewhere. I can't find it. He and I are sitting in the backstage at the Vogue Theater. Now, back in
Nice.
the back alley, he's
Mhm.
having a smoke. We're sitting in just enough space for two people at a fire exit outside on the cobblestones. People are going by, and I just discovered the album that he handed me, and he signed it. Um, I just love that song, man.
Yeah, I've played that one for years. And we were getting ready to figure things out in the studio, just kind of get the room warmed up, make sure we were hearing things right. We just started playing that song and then left it alone. And at the end of the session, we had time, and Josh, our producer, just kind of suggested, should we lay that one down? I'm thrilled that we did. I love that song, and it just fit in perfect with the rest of the vibe of the album. It feels like.
Your producer was Joshua Van Tassel.
Yes. Yeah.
Josh, right?
Yep.
And Afi Yervinen
Yep.
On acoustic and BGs.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the singing. Yeah.
No songwriting.
No songwriting. Nope.
Wow.
No. Josh plays drums with Afi in Bahamas, and
Yep.
this whole idea, this project was really Josh's idea. So he said, "These are the players I want to use. This is the kind of vibe I want to go for." So I left that in his hands, and I'd worked with Afi before, done some writing, but not a whole lot. And I knew he was a fantastic player, and that's how he came in, just as another dude playing guitar.
Oh, yeah. Aaron Como handled keys and did it beautifully with the vocals as well. Well done.
Yeah, I didn't know Aaron before. We decided on keys as a last minute thing, and so a lot of the folks who usually would have been on my call list weren't available. But Josh had worked with Aaron before. He came in and he absolutely nailed it. I bought a B3 and a Fender Rhodes for the session because I didn't have them, and they gave me a good reason to spend some money.
I'm sorry,
he just nailed it.
You've just bought a B3?
Yeah, I just ended up buying a B3. Well, I'd wanted one for a long time, and this was, I don't play them, so it's kind of silly for me to have them, but this kind of gave me reason. Okay. And ended up being the one we got was actually in Leonard Cohen's touring rig for a long time. So that one was on Safe with Cohen. So it had a bit of a vibe, and Aaron came in and just nailed it. He played that thing. He got tones out of that I've never heard out of a B3
before. The Hammer and the Rose, the title track. You and Steve Dawson. Now we know Steve's in Nashville. How did you hook up?
I was down there for a show and had 2-3 days off, so I just hooked up with Steve to take a crack at writing, and we went out for tacos after. He's a good friend, and so anytime he can match those two things up, we take advantage. And
I haven't seen the lyrics, so tell me about the Hammer and the Rose. Are you writing about yourself? In fact,
definitely. I mean, anytime I write, there's a bit of me in there because you've got to sing it every night, so there's got to be something to latch onto. But that song's just for me, it's the hammer is your head. That's the part that thinks logically and, it handles things very pragmatically. And the rose is your heart. That's the part that just goes by feel. And so it's always that kind of push and pull. Sometimes you got to lean on one or the other. And usually there's a clash. But I don't know. For me, the heart usually wins that.
The clash is the thorns.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
Okay. Hold on to Me. Is it literally a team of? No, that's not true. That's Clayton Bellamy's song, isn't it? He co-wrote it.
Yeah. Yeah, Hold On to Me, with Chris Kirby as well, another buddy of mine. And I think that's a shout out to your friends. Sometimes you have to go back and forth and leaning on each other. And it's just a shout saying, you can lean on me whenever you need it because I know I can lean on you.
When the world leans on you, you can hold on me. Hold on me. Or gets a hold of you, you can hold on me. I like that. Like that a lot. That's going to be, what was the one? I know the team of you guys. Tom Wilson, Thompson, Terra, Lightfoot, amazing. Jesse, and you. Where did you find a couch somewhere?
Tom's living room. I've hooked up with Tom the last few albums. I love working with him, and I just love Tom in general. And Thompson we had on the road with just Tom once, and I've worked with Jesse a bunch and Terra as well. So, and Tom just loves bringing in all the ideas. And
listen, I never knew songs to work for me, written by committee, so to speak, like Nashville.
Right.
But I've seen shots of them on all of those guys on a couch with Colin James doing exactly the same thing.
Yeah.
And I had lunch with Terra a couple of days ago, and I said, how did that all work out? She said, everybody had a bit, everybody throws in.
Yeah, absolutely. Everybody has their ideas. I mean, Jesse for me is in the room because he's just a fantastic musician. So when we get boring chords, he makes it feel alive. He brings a really cool idea. And having the piano room is great. And Tom and Thompson are just, well, sometimes you have to get out of Tom's way, just kind of, make sure the inspiration is not going to hit you in the side of the head while it's headed to him. And my first time doing a session like that with Terra, but it was great. There was just ideas and it's positive. And again, we're all friends. So it just makes things like that a hang, we're eating cheese and crackers while we're writing songs.
But where's the starting point? The title or a thought?
That kind of a thought and a groove from Jesse, really.
Groove.
That's for me. That's when it gets. That's where it kind of sets in. Yeah.
Let me tell you how you wrote the cobbler. Okay, I'll tell you how. Okay, because I don't know anything. I'm just saying this is what You walked into a shoe shop or a cobbler or some guy working on boots, whatever. There was, and the rim shots on drum are the hammer on the boot. That's all. That's all.
That's a great theory. I love it. That one came from actually Josh's dad was an inspiration for that. He was a cobbler and a really good friend. We lost him a little over a year ago now. So I sent Josh a note and said, I want you to send me a groove you think your dad would like. And he sent me the groove, and it was exactly what I had in my head. I didn't want to give him directions. I wanted to send what he thought would work, and it was exactly what I was looking for. So we just built it around that.
And those rim shots, those that's the hammer.
Yeah, that's the hammer, and that was a lot of fun to lay down. But the story behind it, Josh and I, I think we both wish Howie would have been around to hear these songs. But pretty fun thinking of them when we were laying it down.
The cobbler. Good for my soul, SOLE. Phew. And SOUL. Counting quarters. Who are the Hupmans?
Hupman brothers, friends of mine from the Valley. I've known them ever since I lived in Nova Scotia, pretty much, and they're neighbors now. Really good friends, and they play great music. They're the Renaissance band as far as I'm concerned. They're doing wood carving, they're doing painting. They're writing songs, and they're just amazing creativity. And they played for years, but Tom never really wanted to hit the road with it or anything. They were happy being at home, and that was off one of the first albums I recorded. I just always loved that song, and I've wanted to record it for years. And this is the project that finally fit on.
And we don't know what counting quarters is. You actually say in your notes.
I have no idea.
But it means you could make it up.
Yep, I've asked them, and they have no idea. But I just know how I feel when I sing it, and that's enough for me.
All right. Because I've almost talked about all of the tracks, but they'll all get played. CKUA, you got fans at CKUA. Every one of those shows.
They've been great to me. They've been fantastic to me over the years.
Here's the thing: when COVID came along, we started getting feedback because they knew how to write us via the website, and we started reading notes during fundraising about how we were the voice in the room. Thank you for getting through this. Thank you for being the voice in the room, because otherwise I was all by myself, or I just didn't have company, or it retained my sanity, so to speak. We've become used now. But not become used. We have become counting on those comments, feedback about what we bring to people's lives. We'll never know unless we talk to them or they write. We'll never know.
Yep.
How about the same thing with you?
Yeah, I've been really, that's probably one of the few things I do like about social media is that, you can get those stories to you way easier than used to, I think. And they're the most inspirational things and most encouraging things as somebody who's out playing. For me, anyway, I guess I'll speak specifically for me. If you don't get awards and you don't get the gigs you want, having that come back is as gratifying as anything.
What do they tell you, Matt?
A lot of, as heavy as, people saying it kept them from taking their own life, which is pretty hard to read, but also fantastic to read at the same time. I've had those stories come at me. Sometimes it's as simple as getting through a day. Some people just say, this is my baby girl's favorite song to dance to, anything there and in between. And it's, that's the stuff that I latch onto when if I'm not enjoying myself anymore.
It can be heavy stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's always daunting when people, I recently had somebody reach out. Their dad was a fan and passing away from cancer, and asked me to just send a shout out video playing a song for him. And it's hard when you don't know the people, but at the same time, there's no reason to say no to it because maybe you're a little uncomfortable with it. So sometimes it's hard to feel that you have that connection with people that you don't know. But it's better to embrace it than to push it away for sure.
We have a new performance stage at CKUA now. It's just a great stage. The Brian Barish, the Barish Arts Den is what it's called, and there's. And they asked me to say something, and I had all of 3 minutes to say it. And I basically said, we need music now more than ever. We need lyrics, thoughts. We need guidance. Just you find your own guidance, of course. But we need music now more than ever. You agree?
I don't know if more than ever, but we definitely need it. I think sometimes I would agree with that. Yeah. You're making me think of it. It definitely, and whether it's to send you in a certain way politically or anything like that, I don't know that we need to do that, but we definitely need to shout outs to be good to each other. That seems to be getting lost and lost and lost. And that's what I reach for in my stuff. Basically, don't be a dickhead as much as you can. Avoid the temptation and make that effort. Like you said, if you put the effort into the good things, the bad things really don't have a chance.
Way ahead of you.
Right.
Dude, that's a hit.
Yeah, that was the idea behind that one. Was absolutely, it's just you can't let the bashers get you down. So.
Well, obviously, what you're doing this year.
Yeah, it's going to be road, and next year we have the album will be out this year, but we're hitting on the road with the band next year, so that's going to be the big tour. So this year, just some festivals and poking around, and hopefully catching some music too.
Okay. Well, by the way, one more thing. When you release an album and you work it, you sit with those, you sleep with those tunes, you whatever, and you finally, when it's done and locked and you can't do anything to it, can't mess with it, can't change anything, is that freeing? And what does it feel like on your opening night?
It's exciting. That's for me, making records is what I used. It's a catalyst to get me to the stage. I love being on the stage and performing. So it's always great having that new bit of material, those new ideas coming out. And sometimes it's nerve wracking to find out how it's going to fit in with what people want from you or what they think they want from you. But again, I've gotten better at not paying too much attention to that. And I learned if I can make myself happy, then that's the main goal, and let people come along for the ride if they want.
I hear you've got 3 festivals. Thank you for that. Thank you. I hear you got 3 festivals coming up later on in the year, but they're all back.
Yeah. Yeah, so far everything's back east. It's come across the books. I guess a lot of that is we're going to be hitting the road pretty hard in 2026, going clear across the country. So that's going to be the big push.
The next time you play the Carlton in Halifax, Mike Campbell's room, I'm coming. I'm flying 5,000 kilometers.
Have you been in the room yet?
I've been in that room, but not when you're there. I can't imagine how good that is.
Well, it's a small space, so I don't use a lot of amplification in there, but I love that room. Mike's got an amazing place built up.
That's a good room, man.
Yeah, absolutely.
In the heart of Halifax. All right, off you go. A word, if you will, finally, about your fans and friends that listen to you on CKUA and just love your music.
Thanks for listening. That's always been. That's why we play. It's why I love hitting the road, getting up and playing in front of people and getting that exchange. There's some people who like to stay home and write. I stay home to write so I can get on the road and keep coming out. I'm coming for you.
By the way, I am speaking to my friends in Houston, Texas. There's a couple of Canadians down there that the oil business took them down, and they're Houston.
Yep.
And I turned them on to you, and they're still talking about it. That was 2 years ago.
Fantastic.
And I'm their Wolfman Jack, and I'm talking. They won't believe it until I can tell them that you're coming their way. That's fantastic.
Yeah, I love playing Houston. Absolutely.
Thank you, Matt. Take care of yourself, will you?
Thank you. You too. Take care.
Way to go on the music.
Thank you.
Your dad.
Way to go on the DJing. I think he is. He is. Yeah.